I know my favorite part of my business is when I get an email from a client that says, I just closed $1 million piece of business that came from your SEO efforts. That gets me pumped. I'm super excited about that.
Hello, this is the Exact Marketing Advice Podcast, and with me today is Nate from Tristate Manufacturing. Nate, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Paul. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Hey, could you tell us a little bit about your marketing vision for manufacturing today?
Sure. I'm pretty passionate about manufacturing. I actually own a marketing agency, and a number of years ago, after working with a lot of manufacturers, we found that we had a lot of success in marketing them, helping them generate new leads and growth. And so I decided one day that whenever my development team had some extra time, we were going to start working on a side project. We called that side project Tri-State Manufacturers Marketplace. And really the idea was to kind of have a comprehensive place that manufacturers in the tri-state area, Pennsylvania, New York, and Ohio, could source new suppliers. They could sell old machinery. They could submit requests for quote. They could hire employees. So I really just wanted to make this a hub for manufacturing. And since then, my vision for it has changed a little bit. And what I really see a potential for is to use a platform like this to dramatically grow the economy in a region. So the basic idea is this. When we work with an individual manufacturer, we have the potential to grow them by 15, 25, 35, 45% in a single year. And it all kind of depends on where they start and the type of service they offer, the competition for it, and things of that nature. But we find pretty consistently we can grow a manufacturer by 15% per year. So my thoughts were this. If we could take a large group of manufacturers and support them through a state or federal funded program, and so basically you're marketing manufacturers in the way that we do individually, but on a much, much bigger scale. By my calculations, you could essentially double the manufacturing GDP in an economy like Pennsylvania's in 5 years. And that's basically just taking 15% growth compounded yearly for those 5 years. You could double the manufacturing GDP in a state. So I think it's pretty exciting. I've been talking to some state representatives, senators, and they're very fascinated by what I've had to say so far, and they're really asking me to kind of validate it. And so I've been putting together a lot of case studies from our clients and saying, here are the activities that we did, and here's how we can scale this to a much larger audience.
This is exactly why I wanted to talk to you today. This marketing to manufacturing seems to be a very unique niche or a very unique channel.
Yep.
Any further inspiration that you can share with us on that?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, and this is, I guess, more than an opinion, but it's a pretty widely accepted concept, and that's that manufacturing is really the staple of an economy. Everything else kind of flows out of that, but you have this group of companies that are producing physical items. They're producing real value, and that value can be sold throughout the world or throughout the country. So this is really the best way to grow GDP and to grow an economy is to grow an individual manufacturer. And there's somewhere between a 2 and a 3x multiplier effect from manufacturing GDP. So in a state like Pennsylvania, if you grow that GDP from 150 billion to 300 billion, you're actually going to be able to multiply that increase by 3 in terms of actual GDP impact on the state. So it's a really smart place to put our focus if we're looking to really have a substantial impact on an economy. And I've been really disappointed in the economic development efforts of our state in particular, but you could really, kind of extrapolate that to a lot of other states, And the reason why I'm disappointed with it is if you look at and I may make some enemies here, but if you look at our Department of Community and Economic Development, they're a pretty well-funded organization in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And then you look at the economy of the state of Pennsylvania over the past 5 years. We haven't grown. We've actually shown negative growth in some years. And so if you give me a $300 million investment, you're going to expect a return on that investment, right? You're going to expect that, at least 10%, I'm going to be able to increase that investment by 10% every year. It's not happening. So the reality of the situation is we need to think more intelligently about the way that we're investing taxpayer dollars that are intended to grow our economy and do something better with that money. And my argument is that the best place to invest that money is in our product, and our product is manufacturing.
Excellent. Nate, can you unpack the type of jobs for the audience so that they can relate to the broader term of manufacturing?
Sure. Yeah. So a lot of the manufacturers we work with are service type manufacturers. So they would provide a manufacturing service like die casting, machining, fabrication, metal stamping, injection molding. So there's a lot of different kind of subsets of manufacturing, but then you also have your OEMs, and those are your original equipment manufacturers, and those are people that are making a physical product and selling it on the market. I think both of those groups of manufacturers are very important and have a lot of potential to help us grow the economy. And that's the first point. The second point is both of those groups largely have not put a lot of focus on digital marketing. And you'll look at a lot of these websites, they're very antiquated. They've been up for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and they haven't changed. They haven't added blog posts about keywords that they want to rank for. They haven't worked on their off-page SEO. So there's a lot of things that we could do to some simple steps that could really dramatically increase the amount of traffic and business that they're getting. And so, yes, in an ideal world, they're going to do this themselves. They're going to see the potential and they're going to be like, oh yeah, I need to do this. The reality of the situation is that they're not. And I can't obviously say that about everybody, but there's a large percentage of these manufacturers that haven't really seen this as a viable method of growth, and they're still kind of relying on outside sales, trade shows, trade magazines, things of that nature that while they do produce some return, they're very limited and they're very work intensive. And if you could pretty much set up the machine, I like to talk about machines because this is what these manufacturers use to make their product. If you can set up your machine to do lights out production for you, right? It's going to produce while you're not putting any investment into it. That's the way to do it. That's the smart way to do it.
Makes sense to me. I love the set up the machine and put it to work. So, Nate, is the challenge that there are not enough jobs or there are not enough candidates to fill the jobs that are available?
That's a complex question. So the jobs exist. Most manufacturers that I work with struggle to find employees. That seems to be getting a little bit better right now. But over the past couple of years, especially during the COVID period and past the COVID period, there was a huge surplus of jobs available without the people to fill it, which obviously limits these manufacturers' ability to produce and to sell products. There is the other side of it. Manufacturers could sell a lot more product if they had more visibility in the marketplace. For example, if you're an injection molder that has the ability to produce very, very large parts. So you're kind of a niche of injection molding, right? So most injection molders might have somewhere in the range of 100 to a 400 ton press. Well, if you've got a press that's much larger, twice that size, all of a sudden you can produce a lot more parts at once, or you can produce much bigger parts. You have an offering that we could sell outside of our area, right? Because you might be in the top 1% of injection molders with this machine that you have. So we could get you in front of that bigger market, and sell a lot more of that product, sell a lot more of that service that you offer. So that's the other limiting factor, is that the manufacturers are not getting the visibility that they need. And so there's some very easy things that we can do to get them that visibility. And then there's a third problem. The third problem is trade policy. And we've been hearing a lot about this sort of thing recently. Tariffs. Tariffs are scary in a lot of ways. And the biggest issue with them is that they create turmoil in the marketplace. They create uncertainty, and that's what we're experiencing right now. Manufacturers are like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, buy parts from China to make the final assembly that I'm making right now. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sell my product in this other country. There's all this uncertainty. So that's what's really causing a negative effect right now. The long-term result of those tariffs, if they're applied intelligently, could be really, really positive. And this is, it's pretty simple to understand. Basically, if I want to sell my product in Europe, I'm an auto manufacturer, I want to sell my product in Germany, right? They impose a 25% tariff or a 50% tariff or a 100% tariff on the cars that I want to ship over there. I'm not going to be able to sell my cars, right? If, on the other hand, they have a 0% tariff and we have a 0% tariff on those same cars, they're going to sell their product in the US, we're going to sell our product in Europe. So if you can create a very fair tariff policy, then yeah, sure, that's going to work out really well. But in the short term, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be not fun. But my argument is that we don't have a choice. If we want to open up more market for our manufacturers, we have to create fair trade policies. We have to do it.
I agree. So outside of the uncertainty today, is there any secret sauce that you utilize to market manufacturers, or anything that you can share with the audience that may not be a trade secret?
Sure. Yeah, I'm real big on sharing information that'll help people, because if they see the value in what I'm saying and they don't have the resources to do it themselves, then they're gonna see, they're gonna hire me to do it. But if, on the other hand, somebody wants to try it themselves, hey, I'll give you as much information as you want. So I always like to leave an audience, whenever I'm speaking, with a tip that they can take home. So I may want to share my screen for this. Let me do this. What I want to share is a tip that could potentially increase the traffic to your website by 10 to 20%, assuming you have it done incorrectly currently. And what that adds up to is, if you can increase your traffic by 20%, and those people are people that are looking for what you're offering, you could potentially increase your digital lead generation by that same 10, 20%. So that's big. And this is one tiny fraction of SEO. And SEO stands for search engine optimization, which is the process of getting ranked higher in search results for the terms that are going to bring you business. For example, if you're a manufacturer and you do, let's just go back to injection molding. You do high volume injection molding. You want the person that is looking to source high volume injection molding to be able to Google that term, find your website, click on your RFQ form, and send you an inquiry. That's basically what you want. So let me pull up an example here. Okay, so this company is an injection molder, and they do medical injection molding as one part of their business. Now, in the manufacturing space, a lot of times there are certifications that you can get that relate to the industry that you would work with. For example, if you were going to work with the aerospace industry, you would want to get an AS9100 certification. That's an ISO certification specific for the aerospace sector. If you are in the medical space, you would get the ISO 13485 certification. So basically that says that I'm qualified to do medical level work. So if I am a medical device company and I'm looking for an injection molder, I am going to probably specify that I'm looking for an ISO 13485 certified injection molder. Pretty simple. So let's just jump over to this customer's website, and I'm going to show you this tip that could dramatically increase the amount of traffic that you get to your website.
Okay.
All right, see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is Seaway Manufacturing. They are an injection molder in Florida. And we want to rank for the term ISO 13485 certified injection molder, right? So the first place Google is going to look to identify what this page of content is about is up here where I'm hovering my mouse. This is called your SEO title, your search engine optimization title. So we need to tell Google what we want this page to rank for in our SEO title. So if you look at what it says up there, it says ISO 13485 certified injection molding company. All right. The second place they're going to look is our heading. This is our main heading on our page. You can see that it also says ISO 13485 certified injection molder. Right now, there's no question in Google's mind what this page should rank for. Okay. Now, there's other factors that are going to decide whether or not we actually get to rank for that term, but we've at least done the basics. We've at least told Google what this page is about. Now, when I go to 90% of manufacturers' websites, I go to their homepage and I hover over their SEO title. It says Home Seaway Manufacturing. So that tells you that the only thing they're ever going to rank for is their company name. So what we do then is we go through every page on this website and we optimize it for a keyword set that we want to rank for. Our tooling page should say plastic injection mold tooling manufacturer. Our clean room page would say injection molder with a clean room or with a class 4 clean room or whatever we want to say. So every page on your website, you need to make it very clear to Google what you want that page to rank for.
Very clear, and thank you for sharing that. Is there a particular business channel that you would love to work with that you're not working with today?
We find that we work best with companies that fit a pretty specific set of qualifiers. Number one, we like to work with companies that have the ability to sell products over a wide geographic area. Manufacturers obviously fit that model. We also like to work with business-to-business companies. And we like to work with companies that have the potential to grow significantly. If you are going to invest in us, we want to make sure that you're going to get a return on that investment. And so, if you can grow your company, even if you're $1 million, $2 million company, and you want to grow that company by 10%, 20% per year, and you have the resources to scale, that's the type of company that we really want to work with.
So follow-up question to that, Nate, is how do you find them?
So I practice what I preach in a large part. So most of our inquiries come from our own search engine optimization efforts. One example is one of the most productive articles that I've ever written for our website was called How to Get Customers for Machine Shops and Contract Manufacturers. That's a term that a lot of people Google. That's a company that's looking for growth and like, how do I do it? So they find this article, I make a case for why search engine optimization and digital marketing is a good way to do that, and then they'll reach out to me. So I've done a lot of content that's similar to that basically we rank for it in search results. When somebody Googles that term, they read it, they say these people sound like they know what they're talking about, they reach out and then become our customer. So that's one thing that we're doing. We've explored a lot of other routes. And some of them do produce a little bit here and there, but I'd say the most consistent is really that search engine optimization thing. We also do some pay-per-click advertising. So that's those ads at the top of search results. They'll say ad next to them. They kind of look like a regular listing, but they're paid. We also have our own podcast called the Manufacturing Insiders Podcast. And so we like to have leaders of manufacturing companies come onto the podcast and talk about what's helped them be successful. What are they incorporating? Are they doing lean? Are they, what are they doing for marketing? All that sort of stuff. And really the goal with the podcast is just to share insights from manufacturing leader to manufacturing leader and, help them thrive, really.
Very cool. I love it that you're practicing what you preach, and I appreciate you sharing that tactic with us.
Absolutely.
So as you scale up and continue to grow, how do you maintain the quality of your service to each one of your clients?
Yeah, and that's a tough question, because as a business owner, you're always in this situation where you're growing, you're getting more customers, and then as soon as you feel like you're making more profit, you need to hire somebody else to take on that additional work. And so you're always trying to figure out the balance there. How far can we stretch ourselves before we supplement our employees? We have a very low client to manager ratio. So, whenever we get to the point where we're getting additional work, we want to make sure that it's high quality work. And so we're going to hire somebody that's very qualified. We actually just hired, this is pretty exciting for me. We just hired a content writer who has extensive experience in the manufacturing space. It's very difficult to find this person. But he actually worked in procurement for a manufacturing company, which is exactly what we want, because we're writing content to draw in procurement people. So, that's the kind of thing we're trying to do. We're trying to hire people that are really, really smart, that can talk to a manufacturer and wrap their heads around what they do and have enough base in the industry and enough knowledge about other types of manufacturing that they can quickly kind of scale their own knowledge to a new type of manufacturer. And then write about it, and that's really a big part of SEO, is being able to convey what that company does.
So that's the first time I heard about the ratio of managers to people who work with you and a ratio of managers to clients. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's just a matter of being able to service that customer in a good way. And you see a lot of thriving marketing agencies out there that, they're raking in a lot of dough. The problem is a lot of times those companies have major churn when it comes to their client base, because if you're spending a couple $1,000s a month on marketing, you got to see results. And you might have a good sales pitch, you might have a great sales deck, but can you actually deliver on what you promised that you were going to deliver? Which actually makes me think of another exciting thing that I recently rolled out. So we've been working on a retainer basis with clients for quite a few years now. And we've had some just awesome case studies. Even that company that I showed you earlier, he sent me an email. We always kind of dig into what kind of result the customers get from our work. And he sent me an email back and said, so we're extremely happy with what you guys have done. And he did this very detailed breakdown, which you could tell that he tracks every piece of data about the business. And he said, we've quoted and closed an additional $1.5 million in tooling sales this year, which is going to add up to probably another couple $1 million worth of production, because when you make the tooling, you're going to produce the parts with that tooling. And that was an increase that happened in the 1 year that he was working with us, and he attributed that increase in our work, on our work. So at any rate, my thoughts were, why not give the customer a little bit of a reduced rate, give them an incentive to allow us to kind of become more of a partner in the business with them. And so I've recently done 2 deals with clients that basically we're charging a very, very minimal fee for our services, just whatever we need to cover costs. And in return, at some point in the future, we will become a commission-only partner. So basically, after 9 months, we're going to keep working, we're going to keep doing what we're doing, but we're only going to profit on commission for the work that they've physically closed from what we've done. So the first company that we did that with was a machine shop in Erie, Pennsylvania. And this machine shop I liked because they have a really robust offering. They have a lot of machinery. They have their own separate polishing operation. They've got a lot of experience. They've got some certifications. So I know that if we get them a lead, they're going to be able to service that lead. So this has only been going on a couple months now. And within a couple weeks of us launching our campaign, he's quoted over $1 million worth of work. So I'm like, close some of those deals. We're going to be in business here. So I just also did this with an injection molder in Arizona. We're just about to kick that campaign off. So I'm super excited about this model because obviously, from my standpoint, I have a lot bigger upside. The customer's happy because they have a lot less upfront cost. And I'm super motivated, super interested in doing anything we can do to generate them business, which obviously I'm always interested in doing that for customers, but I'm even more interested.
That is very exciting, and you have to have some chutzpah to roll the dice in that way. And it answers my next question, which was going to be, how do you hold on to profitable margin in these uncertain times? But you answered it in a very unique way, and I admire it. Are there any other obstacles or challenges aside from tariff and uncertainty of some recent moves? Any other obstacles or challenges that are more prevalent for you today than at any other time?
Let me think about that. I'm super optimistic right now. I mean, I'm very happy with what I've seen this year start out to be. I'm a very optimistic person. I'm an entrepreneur. You have to be optimistic when you're an entrepreneur. But there's nothing that really concerns me. I would say if there's one thing that we're thinking about, that we're working on, that we're trying to have an eye on the horizon for, it's AI. Obviously a very hot topic right now. It's influencing everything. It's influencing the way people do business. It's influencing the way content is written. It's influencing the way websites are developed. It's influencing the way that we get in front of people. One example is that when you're Googling a search term, you used to just get 10 listings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, company A, B, C, D, E. Now, you're seeing AI wants to give you an answer to your question at the top of search results. So how do you get in front of that? What do you do to respond to that? Because obviously that's a coveted spot. It's going to get more clicks than people that are just in traditional organic search. And while some people might be shaken by that a little bit, what I've found is my customers are almost always showing up in those AI suggested responses. And that's because I kind of anticipated this. I was doing the right things beforehand. Like I said, I'm not concerned about it, but it's something we want to keep our eye on and make sure we're staying in front of. And, as search results change, we want to make sure that we're, visible where we need to be visible.
Thank you for that thoughtful answer. That was really good. I've got 2 easy questions for you to wrap it up. The first one is, what advice would you give other marketing agencies to be successful today?
The first one is, your job is not to generate impressions. Your job is not to create visibility or brand awareness or any of those other intangible things. Your job is to create return on investment. Customer gives you money, you better double it, you better triple it, you better make them some major money back, or you're going to lose the customer. I see a lot of agencies focus way too much on statistics and information and data that doesn't mean anything. it might look good. It might be like, hey, we generated, 80,000 impressions for you in a week. Who gives a shit? How much business did I get from it, right? That's what matters. That's what people care about. So that's the first thing. The second thing is customer service. When we get a new customer, one of the more common complaints that I hear is, we needed something changed on our website, and it took these people a month to get back to us, or sometimes they never responded. And then giving your customer control over their assets, that's something that we're really, really big on. A lot of times, companies feel like hostages to their web company, because every time they need to change a word on their website, they got to go run back to them, hey, and then they get a bill for it. When we build a website for our clients, we say, hey, this is your asset, this is your property. Do what you want with it, right? We're going to tell you what you probably shouldn't do with it, but we actually give them a training session, record it, and say, hey, here's how you're going to add a blog post, here's how you're going to change a picture, do all that kind of stuff. So we really try to empower our customers to have as much control over their assets as they want to have. And we're obviously there if they need a retainer, if they need help, on a regular basis, they want us to do these things for them because they don't have the resources, fine. But I think those are, two really big things. Just, number one, producing the result for the client. And if you're not producing the result, create a new scenario, figure out how you're going to do it. Number two, make your customers feel like they have control over their assets and have some grasp of what you're actually doing.
That's really great advice. I'm sure that your optimism and positive attitude come across when you're meeting with clients. Nate, could you share with us what has been your favorite part of the business, or what has been your favorite project that you've done in the business?
Well, I'll say I've been really on fire for this growth partner concept with clients. So that's really been consuming a lot of my thought process. I think my favorite part, well, I don't even have to think my favorite, but I know my favorite part of my business is when I get an email from a client that says, I just closed $1 million piece of business that came from your SEO efforts. That gets me pumped. I'm super excited about that. So, just getting those emails from clients and getting those case studies put together really excites me, because I not only feel like I'm helping that individual company, I feel like I'm having a bigger impact on the economy. And you've kind of already heard me talk about that, and obviously I have some passion for actually creating a broader success than just an individual company.
Terrific. Nate, it's been my pleasure speaking with you today, and I'm sure the audience is going to appreciate your insights. Thanks for joining me. This has been Nate Mitchell from Tristate Manufacturing in Central Pennsylvania on the Exact Marketing Podcast.
Nate Wheeler.
Nate Wheeler. Oh my gosh. Let's do that again. Let's cut. Nate, thanks so much for joining the Marketing Advice Podcast today. I'm sure the audience is going to appreciate your insights. This has been the Marketing Advice Podcast with Nate Wheeler from Tristate Manufacturing in Central Pennsylvania. Nate, thanks.
You're very welcome, Paul. Thank you. And I'm going to help you out here. Audience, please like and share this video. Follow the channel. That's all very helpful to grow these things. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, just go to wecreate.com. And our contact form there is a pretty easy way to get straight to me.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Paul.